used to ward off a charge of a tort. But there are specific conditions for it. First and most important, you must be under threat or attack when you are using that self-defense, when you are using that private defense. So let us say I'm about to come and hit you with a stick, and you either put your hand up or you counter-attack with a stick or something. Then the threat was active and hence you could use private defense. But supposing I say, meet me after 1 hour, I'm going to hit you with a stick. And on hearing these words, you attack me with a stick. You cannot claim that you have done private defense. Why? Because you are not under an active threat or attack. You are only threatened with violence, but it was going to take place after an hour. You are not under an immediate attack right now. So most important condition, you have to be under an active threat of attack. Secondly, the response, whatever defense you did, must be necessary for self-defense, not revenge. Which means whatever amount of force that you use to attack me must be proportional to the amount of force of attack that you are under. Let us say you have a gun in your hand. I have a stick in mine. I am about to hurt you with the stick and you shoot me between my eyes. Proportional response? I think not. When you are under attack with a mere stick, pointing the gun at me would have been enough. Right? Any sane person armed with a mere stick would be afraid of a pointed gun. If that was not enough to stop me, you could have fired in the air to show that your gun is indeed loaded. Even after that, if I am dabang enough to come attacking you, you could have hurt me in a non-lethal area. You could have shot me in the feet. You could have shot me in the arms or something. Just because that is enough to stop a person with a stick. You do not kill a person just because he is threatening you with a stick. Similarly, keeping a trained dog on your premises, on your property, might be constituted to be effective force to ward off robbers or thieves. But if you say, I am very afraid of robbers, I am very afraid of trespassers and thieves, I want to keep 2 Royal Bengal tigers for protection, that sort of force is unreasonable. So private defense applies only when A, the threat is active, B, amount of force used is for defense and not revenge, and C, the amount of force used is proportional to the force of threat or attack that you are under. Now, if a person has the statutory authority to do something, or if a person is legally allowed to do something, then whatever act he does not fall under the category of a tort or a crime. For example, during curfew, the police might be given the authority to lathi charge at people. Now, under orders, if a policeman comes and hits a person with a lathi, the person who has got hurt cannot sue this policeman in the court of law. Why? Because the policeman has the statutory authority, the legal authority to use a proportionate amount of violence. Yes, if the lathi charge was unreasonable, if it was beyond certain prescribed limits, then there can be a case. But as long as the policeman acted within the defines of law, within the boundaries of law, and as long as the amount of force that you used was something which was acceptable, you cannot sue him. Why? Because he committed the act with statutory authority. Necessity is an extremely hard to use defense. But if you can prove in the court of law that whatever you did was out of necessity, then you do have defense. For example, it is illegal to trespass into somebody's house. But let us say you are running because you are being chased by a ferocious animal, and to save your life you had to trespass into somebody's garden or trespass into somebody's house. Or your own house was on fire, and because of that you had to break into a neighbor's house to get some water to extinguish the fire. In that case, because the act which you did was out of sheer necessity to save life or property, you can claim the defense of necessity and be absolved of whatever charge you are under. Ignorance of law is never an excuse. Supposing you are driving a vehicle and you are stopped by a police constable, a traffic police constable, and he demands to see your license. You cannot simply claim that you are ignorant that people are supposed to carry their license around when driving and get away with it. Ignorance of law is not an excuse. But in case you can prove that there was a mistake of facts, that whatever you did was not because you did not know the law, but because you are mistaken about the facts and hence that act got committed. There was no malice, there was no bad intention on your part. Then you can get away by citing mistake as a defense. But remember, mistake is about mistake of facts. It's never about ignorance of law, because the Latin maxim says ignorantia juris non excusa. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Okay. So these were the defenses which can be used when we are talking about any case being put on us. But now we talk about liability, and I have used the term liability many times, and I have also told you basically what it means. Are you liable? Are you responsible for that particular act? Now, there are two different varieties of liability which we need to be clear about. One is something known as strict liability, and one is vicarious liability. So, what do we understand by strict liability and what do we understand by vicarious liability? Let's understand these terms. Strict liability means an act of yours which is enough to show that you are guilty. Mens rea, guilty mind or intention, is not necessary for a case of strict liability. If you have committed a particular act, irrespective of what your intentions were, you will be held liable for it. So, the actus reus, the actual physical act is enough. Mens rea or state of mind or guilty mind does not matter. So, for example, prohibition laws serving alcohol to underage people is considered to be a strict liability offense, which means in case you are mistaken about the age of a person and served him drinks thinking that he had the legal age to do so, you still will be charged. Does not matter that you did not intend to serve to a minor, because it's a strict liability offense. The very fact that you gave alcohol to a minor is enough and you will be put in jail. And hence you need to be very careful in understanding that is a particular wrongdoing a strict liability offense or not. Right? The liability here is said to be strict because the defendant, whoever is accused, will be convicted even if he is genuinely unaware or ignorant of one of the more factors that made the omission or commission of the act criminal in nature. Does not matter. I did not know that this was not allowed. Not a defense. Anyway, ignorantia juris non excusa, but here even if you did not intend to do anything wrong, in fact you tried to find out whether the person was of legal age or not, the person fooled you with a fake ID and relying on that ID you served alcohol to a minor. Now it is technically speaking the minor's fault, right? You did your due diligence, but nevertheless because it falls under the purview of strict liability, does not matter. Law says no alcohol to minors. You served alcohol to minor, hence you are guilty. So the defendant may not be culpable in the real sense, in the worldly sense of the word, but in the eyes of law, unfortunately, there is guilt. Now, why do we have such laws? In fact, it would seem draconian at times, it would seem too much at times, that even if the person does not want to do something wrong, he will be punished for it. Well, for this you need to understand why exactly did such laws come about in the first place. And for that we have to go back a few years. In 19th century, around the Industrial Revolution, many a times the factory owners would not care for the safety of their workers. And in case intention was necessary to be proven, many a times the workers never got justice even if they were injured in the factory of their master. Because the master could somehow get away by proving that there was no intention of hurt. So they were careless, they were negligent. So strict liability laws would ensure that the master does everything possible to ensure the safety of the workers. Because under strict liability law, the state of mind does not matter. So this puts the onus, the burden on the master to make sure that the working conditions, the working environment is extremely safe for all the people working in that particular factory. Okay, so now let us take an example to understand this basic concept of what exactly is strict liability. Now, let us say an act of parliament makes it compulsory for the employers in any factory to ensure that their employees are wearing safety helmets. Right? Now, let us say there is this factory and there are certain workers in the factory who are found to be not wearing their safety helmets and other safety equipment when they are working. Now, the employer, the owner of the factory, he has repeatedly told the workers that you are supposed to wear a helmet, you are supposed to wear safety equipment, but the workers do not listen to him. Now, one day, if an inspector comes and finds that these safety norms are being violated, then the employer, the owner, can be held liable. In this case, the employer cannot plead that he has repeatedly instructed the workers and they still do not listen to him. So, even if the employer says that he has tried his level best and the employees do not listen to him and hence he should not be held liable, because the condition of wearing a safety helmet falls under the principle of strict liability, the employer will be held liable.